Hello, everyone. Well, what does Ayurveda say about self-care healing according to different seasons? We are going to learn that for fall season today from Sweta Vikram. Sweta is a celebrated author, a yoga teacher, and an Ayurveda counselor. I am Amita from Nourish Doc, a global platform for natural and holistic therapies. I'd like to introduce all of you to Sweta Vikram, who's joining us live from New York City. Welcome, Sweta.
Thank you, Amita, for the warm introduction. And hi to everyone. I know some of you have stayed up late all the way in India to be a part of this. I really appreciate your support. The others who are in the same time zone as I am, to carve out an hour on a Sunday afternoon, it means a lot. So thank you. And to everyone else whom I have not met and I'm just getting to know now, thanks again for joining. Um, and we'll get into what Ayurveda is, but what I would like to start with is just take a couple of seconds. And if you, like I'm sitting on the chair, but no matter how you're sitting, just make sure your legs are uncrossed at this point and notice where your hands land. So are they on the thighs? Are they on the knees? Are your palms facing down or are they facing up? Just notice that and don't do anything with it. And then I invite you to close your eyes. I'm going to do that for a couple of seconds and just breathe. So when we're breathing right now, we're not manipulating anything. If thoughts come up, that's fine. But while we breathe, just notice what your breathing feels like. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Is it like a staccato, tuck, tuck, tuck? Or is it like you've just woken up? If any of you have dogs or have ever seen a dog breathe, and if any of you have seen babies breathe, just notice how their bellies go up and down. The same thing, dogs, the way their bellies move, they know how to breathe. And as adults, we grow up, we learn to get caught up in what the world wants of us or what we think the world wants of us, and we forget to breathe. If only we can control our breath in that how we breathe, a lot of our health issues can be taken care of from an Ayurvedic perspective. And whatever I shared here today, my disclaimer is this is coming from an Ayurvedic perspective. Please talk to your health professionals, your mental health professionals, your doctors, whoever they are, to get their okay should you choose to start a program. But having said that, for me, Ayurveda is the guiding principle of my life, and it's changed how I experience my day. So now I invite you to just open your eyes and notice when you walked into this space where we're doing a conversation, compared to that, how are you feeling now? Is your anxiety a little bit lesser? Has your breathing pattern changed? Is your mind a little bit more focused versus being pulled into a million directions? And it's real with the pandemic, what's happening politically, at least in the US, with the holidays around the corner, not being able to celebrate it the way we have. There's a lot of anxiety, job losses, losing loved ones, health issues. There is a very high level of anxiety in the world. And you're not alone. I know that doesn't make things better, but I want you to know that you're not alone. We are all facing this on some level or the other. So what is the connection to Ayurveda when it comes to all of this, right? So to give you an idea, Ayurveda is the oldest ancient healing science, medical system from India. It's pre-biblical. It's more than 5,000 years old. And what I love about Ayurveda is it honors nature. So it thinks of we are a miniature of nature as human beings, and we are made up of 5 elements. And I'll get into these elements like space, air, fire, water, earth. And these elements combine to form doshas, like you can see in the presentation here, Vata dosha, Pitta, and Kapha, right? So we'll be talking about Vata dosha because fall or autumn is Vata season, right? So every season in Ayurveda has, in every season, according to even the Western world, has an Ayurvedic equivalent. So fall is Vata dosha. Winter to early spring is Kapha dosha. And then late spring into summer is Pitta dosha. So let's focus on Vata dosha because this is fall. That's what we are focused on. So Vata is made up of space and air, right? Amita, can you go back a slide, please? So Vata is made up of space and air. You're looking at other elements, also fire and water. And I quickly want to touch upon this. Think about Kapha dosha, the winter lethargy where you don't want to come out of your blanket or get off the couch. Or if it's summer and you feel like, oh my God, I am so upset right now, or I feel like I have diarrhea, or that person annoys me, or I had whatever, beer under the sun and that didn't suit me. That was the fire, right? So now we can go a slide ahead. So what do I mean by Vata dosha? So let me share an example of one food item. Think of popcorn. There is corn, you pop it, there is air in it, it increases in space. So that's a classic example. So Vata is in your body, Vata is in the season, Vata is in the foods, Vata is everywhere because Ayurveda believes we are basically made up of 5 elements. And how are we determining these doshas of who is a Vata dosha, Pitta, or a Kapha? So at the time of conception, the mother's dominant dosha and the father's dominant dosha, they come together, and that is what the child is. That is their dominant dosha, right? And your parents' doshas are also impacted by their emotional status, their environment, the season. A child born during now, in all likelihood, might have a vata in them, right? Because we are in vata season. So that's how doshas are formed, right? So speaking again of vata dosha, let's just say the mom is um, uh, let's just say like a mom is high vata and the father is high pitta, so the child would be either pitta vata or vata pitta. And even if you have a sibling or your partner and you have the same dosha combination, most common is 2 doshas, so which is like a vata pitta, pitta vata, pitta kapha, kapha pitta. You get the drill, right? Very few monodoshas, which is just vata, just pitta, just kapha. And there are even fewer tridoshic people, which is all 3, vata pitta kapha, right? So our goal with Ayurveda is to get back. So these are the imbalances to get back to our original dosha, which is the Prakriti, right? So I hope you're clear on that. Space and air make up Vata dosha, right? So what is Vata responsible? Me talking right now, that is Vata. Us going to the bathroom, whether it's any waste material that comes out of our body, that's vata. When we travel, it's movement, it's vata. When people burp or they throw up, that's vata. So vata is movement. So you see it when you go for a run, that's vata. So vata is any kind of movement, it's breathing. And from an Ayurvedic perspective, most ailments stem from a vata imbalance. So sure, if you're vata predominant, you're more predisposed to vata imbalances. But that doesn't mean like a kapha pitta or a pitta kapha will not have any vata imbalance. Diet and lifestyle play a very key role along with seasons. Um, and I'll get to you, Sushana, in just a second. Okay, so what does vata represent? Simple things. Now think of popcorn again. Let's make this simple. Think of popcorn. It's dry, right? It's light. If you try to move like a case like this, it's heavier, right? But when you try to move a popcorn, it's light. Like if you've ever played carom in your life, like those little things, whatever they're called, I can't think of the right name. They're heavy, but if you try to do this to a kernel of popcorn, it's super light, right? So think of the season with the same qualities. So Vata season right now, it's cold, it's dry, right? It's clear. So what happens? We can go on to the next slide, please.
Yeah. So hang on one second. So there's a question. Is that does the season that you're born also affects doshas? We were just talking about that right now, right?
That's a, that's a great question, Sushana. So yes, it does, and I would say yes and no because it does impact. So like that, like I was saying, right? If someone is born in the month of October or even mid-November, that's Vata season. So there's a very strong likelihood that they will have an impact. But does that mean they will be predominantly Vata? Not necessary. But the diet and lifestyle, so we are born a certain way, and then our vikruti is the imbalance. It's very possible that if the child is not bundled up the way they need to be, cold gets into your bones, right? The dry skin, and if there's not enough massaging happening, and if a newborn doesn't eat salad, but whatever the equivalent of that is, like raw, non-digestible food, that will all lead to vata imbalance. Does that answer your question?
Okay, we can move on, and then we can put the last, like you can finish your.
Sure. And so also
Yeah.
think, when your eyes twitch, that's a sign of vata imbalance. So and the reason I'm sharing, if your hands get cold, that is vata imbalance from an Ayurvedic perspective, right? If you feel nervous more than usual, vata imbalance. Anxiety more than usual, vata imbalance. Sleeplessness, vata imbalance. So the point is, again, because I said vata is light, it's mobile, it's irregular, and all of these qualities represent that lightness, right? So anxiety is thinking too much. It's not lack of thinking. It's too many thoughts, right? Not being able to focus, and then it might just pull us into an extreme direction, which is a panic attack. But sometimes anxiety is like just this extreme movement, right? Again, light, there is speed, right? When there's no circulation, cold, that is vata. Indigestion, not indigestion, sorry, digestive issues, which I mean constipation, again, dry. So this is how vata works. We are in vata season, days of the week, not days of the week, time of the day. So 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. and 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. they are also vata times. So a lot of people wake up around that 2 a.m. because, again, why? Vata is light, so sleep is lighter at that time. So I hope it's starting to make sense. While you should be seeing an Ayurvedic counselor and a coach for to figure out what your dosha is, I would say stay away from those online quizzes. Find your dosha in 5 seconds. A typical way to say would be like, am I experiencing vata imbalance? Is not just the things we talked about. Notice your skin. And I think someone mentioned cold hands. Okay, yeah, that explains. And then the skin gets unusually dry, the hair. So a person who has predominantly vata will typically have curly hair, dry skin, little bit irregular features, like that one really pretty tooth that's a little at a different level than the others. I know someone whose earlobe is one lobe is different than the other. So vata is irregular. So features being irregular is just synonymous with vata, right? And then from an Ayurvedic perspective, every disease falls into a vata disease, kapha and pitta. And I just want to share an example of arthritis. Um, Arthritis is oftentimes considered a vata disorder because there's the dryness in the joints, right? Which leads to pain. So if there is pain in the body, that's another thing. Oh, the vata must be imbalanced if there is pain. And arthritis is that pain and it's dry. Like I said, insomnia, dry skin, anxiety. And again, from an Ayurvedic perspective, mental health is even way more important than physical health, because you could feel pain, but if your mind tells you your pain is into 100 times than what you're feeling, see how mental health impacts our physical health, right? So you start to feel the intensity a lot more, versus you'd be like, no, on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel 2. Then your mind is telling your body, oh, I'm just 2. And then all of a sudden, the pain in your body feels lesser. So the mind is extremely, extremely important from an Ayurvedic perspective when it comes to your Vata dosha. So we can go to the next one, Amita. So there comes a big question when my clients will ask me, so you're telling us, okay, this is space and ether and it's cold and it's dry. How do we take care of ourselves? And for me, there are 3 main ways of taking care. It is through food, through nourishing your senses, and through sleep and restful awareness. And I want to say, one of my teachers had once said, and I love this, your spice cabinet is your first access to apothecary. So foods can really heal, spices can, and by spices, I'm not saying 2 pounds of cayenne pepper, right? So by spices, I mean just adding seasonal spices, not making the food that spicy. And we'll get into that. So by following a vata pacifying diet. And so what does that mean? From an Ayurvedic perspective, like increases like. So if we are saying vata is dry and mobile and cold and irregular, imagine if you're eating popcorn. What will happen? Your vata goes up. Now think of foods like popcorn, potato chips, again dry. Why is it that when we eat chips, very often we need water to drink, right? It's because it's dry and it is terrible for you in that sense because it has the vata qualities. What else am I thinking of? Like think of foods which are super, super dry and foods that you might eat and you feel like, oh, I need some water and I'm starting to choke. So a simple way of eating a pacifying. Oh, salads. You know, I used to be salad junkie and a trail mix junkie, really. Like my passion was a nice salad on a summer day until Ayurveda became a part of my life. And I realized, oh, my digestion has changed ever since I stopped eating raw salad. So what happens is people who have vata imbalance, they tend to have a little questionable digestion. And by what I mean by that is the bowel movement might be irregular, right? They might be constipated. They might be going to the bathroom at different time of the day on any given day, right? So, and what raw food does, it is cold, increases vata. It is dry, increases vata. It has, and you know, there's these tastes from an Ayurvedic nutrition perspective that we're not touching about today, but those tastes also increase vata. So what it does is people who have a vata digestion, they have a hard time digesting food, hence the constipation, the sleeplessness, right? And salads are harder to digest because when foods are not cooked, our digestive system has to work double the amount of time to digest everything. So what you want to do to pacify your vata is eat warm, simple, cooked meals. So what that means is like khichdi is an Indian thing, but it doesn't have to be khichdi necessarily. What khichdi is a combination of mung beans, the split yellow mung beans, and basmati rice with spices and seasonal veggies. And you cook that, and the more cooked it is, the warmer it is, it makes digestion simpler. Like a change like this, and my clients have felt the difference. Instead of the salad, I felt the difference. Instead of eating a salad, if you just have a warm soup or a stew where things are well cooked with some root vegetables, you'll feel the difference. The trail junkie that I was saying, you know, for me in the subway, I live in the city, in New York City, and like so, the easiest snack for me was to keep like a box or a Ziploc of nuts at all times. If I was hungry, I'd rather eat my nuts than go out and buy. It's very easy to buy that Kit Kat off a newsstand at the subway stop, right? Here I thought I was doing a good deal, but obviously my digestion was being impacted because nuts are heavy. Just raw nuts are heavy for a vata digestion. So again, nuts are dry. So, you know, this should help you start thinking that way. What food is dry? Like bread. Bread can feel really dry, right? And so anything which is dry or cold or in terms of food, you want the opposite of that. So for vata cooking, you want a little bit of oil. I would say sesame oil if you don't have allergies for this season, because also because vata is cold, you want something heating. And Ayurvedic concept of heat and cold is different from the Western concept, right? Like ice cream is cold from a Western perspective. But in Ayurveda, we look at what does it do to the digestion and how does it end up in your body? It has a heating effect. So again, just touching upon those basics. So like sesame oil is warm, it's heating. So if you toss the same salad, just toss it in for a few seconds, right? Breaks down the molecules and makes foods easily digestible. So you don't have to compromise on your salad. Or sometimes just turn them into stew. Basmati rice is great for vatas. It helps with the digestion. Also, vatas, when you think of anxiety, we are like this, right? It's very different from depression for the most part. From an Ayurvedic perspective, depression is more a kapha imbalance. So when we are here, we need something to calm us, right? And so something to ground us. And basmati rice can be grounding because it has a sweet taste from an Ayurvedic perspective. It's also a little heavy because vata is so light. We want something heavier to counterbalance it. So like I said, root vegetables are great, sweet potatoes. You can even use beet. Those are great. Some of the greens. Asparagus is wonderful. What else? I am a big believer in ghee because ghee has great medicinal properties. The dryness, ghee takes care of that. So the cracking, popping joints, introducing ghee. There's medicated ghee for external application, but just even a teaspoon of ghee can be really good for lubricating, because vata oftentimes, like I said, is so dry. So it's like dry joints rubbing over each other, dry skin, and you want that lubrication. Um, the next thing I wanted to talk is, are there any questions before we go to the next? Just feel free to pop in your questions in the chat whenever you
That's
have
okay.
any.
I'm checking. Don't worry about it. Or we can take the questions in the end also, if if people want to go through the presentation one
Yeah.
time.
So the next would be nourishing your senses. And what does that mean? It could mean different things to different people, right? So the one thing that I did not realize until Ayurveda became a part of my life was I like movement a lot, right? Like for me, movement is everything. I get tired of sitting in an airplane. I'm one of those people, like, when can I move? When can I work out? When I can I go from point A to B? Like, you'd really find me sitting on a couch unless I'm unwell. And I've had to make a very intentional effort, because mobility, that speed is also vata increasing, to balance it with grounding myself, which is sitting. So what that means is, if you feel like, again, I'll go quickly over the signs: extra dryness more than usual, cold hands or feet, rest of your body is warm, but your extremities are cold. Um, the dryness of the skin, that, that anxiety, or like not being able to sleep, feeling constipated, gas and bloat. Two things that I didn't touch upon earlier. Yeah. Feeling gassy or bloated all the time. Like you eat and you feel like, oh my God, this is uncomfortable. I can't see people because that's how gassy and bloated I feel. Right. So we talked about food and how that impacts. B is warm beverages. So nourishing your senses. I'll talk about the workouts, but like ginger tea, right? Using cayenne as, not cayenne, sorry, a little bit of cayenne is good, but cinnamon. Cinnamon is a heating spice. So cinnamon can really work towards pacifying your vata. So you can drink cinnamon tea, you can add it to your soups or stews, add it to, like, in Indian cooking, there's something called a biryani. So while that's heavy, make a lighter version of it, like vegetables with basmati rice and some spices. Cinnamon can really pacify vata. A lot of people ask me coconut oil. Coconut oil is great for summer. But if you have an extremely that extreme vata imbalance, ghee and sesame are much better for you. So yeah, nourish your senses with ginger tea. Something as simple as ginger tea. Some people like to put a little bit of turmeric. Extra turmeric is not the best thing for vata, because it's astringent and that increases vata. So a little bit will not do you any harm. Um, from an Indian store, like if you like cooking lentils or beans or legumes, fatas might find it hard to digest. So cook them really well. But there's something called hing, and I'll put it in the chat. It's HEENG. It's called asafoetida. You can find it in an Indian store. It's a very heating spice. You need like literally a pinch before you make your beans. When you add in your ghee or your oil and your cumin or any of the spices, add a pinch of hing. That works very well with bloating or gas. Like I will not make a lentil soup, whether it's Indian or Western, I don't care what it is, without a pinch of hing, because it just helps to digest things better. Nourishing your senses, vatas are very sensitive. So when they are in balance, they are super creative, right? They are adaptable. They are the people in a room who are full of ideas. They are the travelers amongst your friends and family. They are so excited. They are the innovation people. They wake up, they're like, whoa, I have this idea, right? But then remember that friend or cousin who is sitting in a room, they're physically present, but their mind is there. It's like, oh, I had this idea. Oh, I had that idea. And there is a time where you're like, you just want to hold their hands and say, take a deep breath. So now that's vata, that the speed, the dryness, when it's in control, brilliant. Out of control, it's that imbalance. So something as simple as listening to good music, right? Listening to conversations, that like the election conversations, if they increase your anxiety, if the mention of any person, and this is not a political discussion, whoever you're voting for, right? If that makes the nerves in your neck tighten up, don't consume that media at that point. Have these boundaries with your friends and family. Hey, I don't want to discuss politics. It makes me anxious. So you have to spend time with yourself to know what your triggers are. The other way to nourish your senses, I love oils. I absolutely, absolutely love oils. I haven't used a moisturizer on my body in I don't know how long. I use oil all the time, right? So there are two ways. In Ayurveda, this is called Abhyanga. So if you go to an Ayurvedic spa, which during COVID seems like a distant dream, right? But you can do this at home. And in an Ayurvedic spa, there are two people who massage you with oil with synchronicity, and they will know what your vata pitta, whatever your doshas are, your imbalance are. So they're special oils. Banyan Botanicals, and they don't pay me, so I'm just suggesting because I trust their quality. They make good massage oils. So for now, I have a bottle of Vata-pacifying oil from Banyan Botanicals. I will warm it up a little bit, massage it all over my body, and let it be for 20 minutes, right? So there are seven, Ayurveda will tell you there's seven tissues in our body, and moisturizers don't reach the depth. Oils do. And one way to take care of that dryness and is to nourish your senses through an oil massage. So, and there are also oils like if you, I don't have the time, honestly, on, I have a home, a business, a job, writing commitments, clients, a family, all of that to do an oil massage on a daily basis 20 minutes prior to my shower, but make it a point to do it 3 times a week, right? The other 4 days, you get ready-made oils. I also make my own oils, but um, just a post shower oil after you shower, instead of, or after your bath, instead of massaging yourself with a moisturizer, just use oil and you'll notice it drinks it up. And you'll notice how much it relaxes you, because what you're doing when your nerves are relaxed, our nervous system is relaxed. Remember the twitching, nervous system. So if you relax your nervous system, your anxiety automatically also comes down. When your anxiety is different, is lower, your digestion is different, because you're not eating from the place of, I don't know what's going to happen on Tuesday. I don't know what we'll do for Thanksgiving. I don't know what we'll do over the holidays, because we are not in that zone. You still might be stressed or feeling things, but from a calmer space. So massages are absolutely beautiful in Ayurveda. And so look up these oils. Like for Vata season, I prefer using something which is sesame based, and I'll add like 2, 3 drops of eucalyptus in it, right? And if you're buying ready-made oils, eucalyptus is a great essential oil for Vata season, because it's sharp, and and you need that sharpness right now because Vata is so cold. You need things that are a little bit heated and sharp. Um, the next would be meditation. So, something as simple as when you tell someone you need to calm down, that's the worst thing you can do to them. If they could calm down, they would calm down. No one wakes up and says, I'm going to be anxious. So I feel it's a very self-centered way of helping someone by asking them to calm down. Show them tools. So for me, that's one of the things that I do is I don't tell people go sit in a corner and meditate, because you know what? If they could, they would. What really helps vatas, a vata imbalance, it's a great meditation, is walking meditation, right? So if it's cold out, layer up, make sure you don't have like your ears are not exposed. Just covering your head and ears will help the cold from not getting into your body. Layer up well, and just go for a walk, not run, because when you're running, you're biking, you're doing your power yoga, it is all increasing your vata. You want something where there's movement, but it's gentle, where there's heat. So when you go for a walk and you're layered up, there will be a little bit of heat, and that's great because vata is cold. We want that heat in our bodies, right? Sun salutations are brilliant. Forward fold. So every dosha has its own organ where it resides. We are talking about vata. Vata resides in the colon. Constipation, hello, it makes sense, right? So if you do these little twists, they are very helpful because they're directly working on your colon. So twists help with digestion, where they help ease constipation. So do those gentle twists when you're at home. So yeah, walking meditation. Walk. Sometimes don't even listen to a podcast. Don't make that extra effort, because if your vata is imbalanced, that extra effort is what raises the anxiety. Like, oh, I have my mind to be quiet. Oh, I need to call this one. Oh, I need to listen to that music. No, just do what you want to do in that moment, but don't look at it as I need to go from point A to Z. being in the moment is the biggest challenge for Vata. And when you make things easier for yourself, it's easier for you to be in that space, right? So just if you have a park near where you live, or if you live in a house, in your backyard, or maybe even in, if you have a big house, like in your kitchen. Like I live in an apartment, so I have to step out of my apartment to go get that walk in, which I did this morning. It's like being around nature, and I was covered, so my ears were all covered. It's centering, right? Because there's something very calming about nature. But make sure if it's super windy or cold, you want to layer up really, really, really well. So that could be your meditation. The other way of nourishing your senses could be the same oil that I talked about with Abhyanga. Before you go to bed, massage the bottoms of your feet. There are over 100 nerve endings that end up in our feet, right? So if there's vata imbalance, you might be encountering sleep issues. Easy way in, you've taken care of diet, you've paid attention to what you drink, who you talk to, what you eat, what you consume in terms of media, so anxiety doesn't go up. You've paid attention to how you exercising. Another way is work on your nerve endings. So if you just do these gentle massages, just simple, like I'm showing it on my palm, do the same thing to your feet, right? And you'll realize it's so much easier to fall asleep, because then your nerve endings are giving the signal to your body, the organs, that, hey, you know what? It's time to relax. You're going to be okay. And just try that for, I always say, try something for 2 weeks to figure out if it works for you or not. Let me check on the time. So yeah, I want for us to try.
We have
Sorry.
only 15 more minutes left. We want
Yeah.
to leave the last 15 minutes for questions.
Yeah. So
So
now I
let's,
have, can you go back a slide up, Amita?
yeah, so let's talk about, okay.
We've been through the diet and everything. So I'm not just going through those slides. We've already done all of this.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can just go up a slide.
You talked about yoga as well.
Yeah, so this is the perfect slide. So we've talked about yoga, but I want to talk about anulom-vilom, which is a great way to, again, the third part where we were talking about, you know, sleep and self-awareness. We talked about vata-pacifying diet. We talked about nourishing our senses. This is the third one. How do we sleep well? So yoga bit, we've already said, right? You know, you want to do something slow, but it's heated, which is do your sun salutations, do your forward folds, do your twists. But I would invite each one of us, this is one last thing that we can do together. So if you can bring your thumb and close your right nostril with me, and then inhale through your left nostril. So you want to start with your right nostril, close it with your thumb, inhale through your left nostril. Now close your left nostril with your ring finger and exhale through the right nostril. Now inhale again through right. Close the right nostril. Exhale through the left. Inhale through left. Close your left nostril. Exhale through right. And let your hands just rest on your knees. So this is called anulom-vilom, or alternate nostril breathing. If it's done very forcefully, it's called nadi shodhana. The reason I love this breath work, this pranayam, is you can do it any hour of the day. When you wake up, middle of the day, when the caffeine thing hits. Remember, 2 to 6 is the vata time, even during the afternoon. So the caffeine, think of the time when we feel sleepy. It's that vata time, right? It's because we are light and things are clear. So this is a great practice to do, because it balances both the hemispheres of the brain. And so when you want to go to sleep, and it clears up the thoughts, it just helps you center yourself. It taps into your parasympathetic nervous system, which is what we need to snap out of that flight or fight mode. When you need that extra cup of caffeine, this is great, again, because it's working on your cravings as well, right? And when you practice this, some people start with, I'll do 5 counts, some do 7 counts. I just say, especially at night, do it until you fall asleep, or maybe during the middle of the day, set up an alarm for just 5 minutes. It takes you 5 minutes to make a cup of tea or coffee in an office scenario. Right now we are home, so it might take half the amount of time. So do that and try and see. So 3 things. And we have all of these slides about like the foods, but I've talked about the foods that you can eat. And Amita, if you want to run them through the slides, that's fine. But these were Yeah, so we've talked about massage again, right?
Yeah.
So avocado oil, jojoba oil, all of that is great, but sesame is easily accessible. The last thing we need is to be anxious about where do I get this specific things. So eucalyptus and sandalwood. So, sandalwood, rose, and jasmine are also great if someone has pitta. But if you're experiencing all those signs of vata imbalance, I would recommend sesame oil with a little cinnamon. Keep it simple. Sandalwood can be expensive, so maybe rose and jasmine. And I have a client. I know I haven't shared this with even with Amita, but this I just found out recently. I have a client who stopped waking up in the middle of the night to go pee. And one change we did in her lifestyle was this hot oil massage in the evening. So she would shower before dinner, do this massage, eat dinner, spend time with the family, read, go to bed, do the anulom-vilom. And she realized, because what this does is, remember, 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is also vata time. It's light, it's clear, that's when we wake up. But if your nerves and your nervous system are nourished, you sleep better. So your body is not waking you up constantly. So try it and see if any of these things work for you, either through your diet. I mean, you could do all of the above, but I don't like to overwhelm people. Try through your diet. Eat warm, well cooked foods, right? Eat on time. Vata imbalance is irregular appetite. Sometimes you're hungry at 10 in the morning, sometimes not until 3 in the afternoon. So eat at regular times, avoid snacking. Yeah, try the massage, try heating slow, whether it's a workout or it's asana. Try walking meditation, or just your hands on your belly and just breathe. Just breathe and see how the breath feels on your hand. I promise you, your hands start to get warm when they're on the belly button. The thing with vata is you don't want to do anything which adds to the anxiety. Oh, I have to get this done. Oh, I have to get this done. Vata is beautiful, it's clear, it's creative, it's all of that. All we want to do is this, bring it back into balance for this season. It'll get easier once we get into kapha season, which is in a few weeks. But for now, these would be my recommendations.
Recommendation. A couple of success stories or your clients' experience.
Yeah, so this was the first very interesting because the mom is a doctor, so she had her reservations around Ayurveda because they come from a different mindset. Um, and my explanation to her was Ayurveda believes in two things. First thing, if we can prevent an illness, only then do we need to cure it. So when someone shows up to me and says, I have a headache, the way I would treat the symptoms would be very different from a way Western doctor would. And I have a lot of respect for Western medicine. In terms of trauma, crisis, Western medicine is the place to go. But if it's sleepless, 5 sleepless nights, can we touch upon why somebody was sleepless instead of prescribing a medication right away? So with this child, the anxiety was high and the kid had very dry skin. So, and it's not just that, I did the whole counseling for them. We realized the kid is in extreme vata imbalance. Simple things. A 10-year-old boy, I cannot tell him don't eat chips. You have to work with what you have to work with. But the oil massages helped. And because when you're sleepless, then you're not your full self in school, and this is pre-COVID. Then you're not participating in your activities, and that takes a toll on your self-confidence. They're like, oh, I'm not good enough. No one wants to be with me. A simple thing of oil massages calmed his nerves. He slept well, so he woke up on time. He ate well. He did well at school. So you see how one thing is connected with the other. And this is another client who works in the pharma industry, so it's very high stress. And it's very interesting. It's often people from the Western science who end up working with me, or very high stress levels. And I have a corporate background, so I understand where they come from. I'm not going to ask and make any suggestions that say go live in a cave for 2 months. That's why we all would be, less anxious and more grounded if we could meditate on Himalayas. But that's not the real world we live in. And for her, she was also in that age, menopause, and so Vata age is menopause and beyond. So she's getting into Vata age. She's predominantly Vata. She skips meals, which increased her Vata. And so and extreme levels of anxiety and stress. So through diet and lifestyle, nourishment of senses, asking her to get more in touch with what she needed. She's really got into meditation now, like sitting and meditating, but it started with walking meditation. she's now thriving because it's one thing that leads to the other. If you skip your meals, it'll increase vata. Then you go to bed on an empty stomach, your mind is all wired, it's increasing your vata. You don't sleep, it increases your vata. And this lady is in vata age and it impacts her digestion, high vata, right? So these were the two stories that I wanted to share, which I'm very grateful that they chose to work with me, and it's made such a difference to their life.
That's amazing. We're open for questions now. Thank you so much, Sweta, for I think it's really beautifully narrated. All the issues, all the small things that all of us can make changes in our simple day-to-day life that can help us sleep better or eat better or live better and healthier life. And that, I think that's the essence of this. We are open for questions now and comments. Any questions, any comments, any feedback, anything that you would like to say something, you're welcome to say. So one of the comments I was going to say is that we were talking about earlier on we inherit a certain type of prakriti from our parents, but what is interesting to and I'm not an Ayurveda counselor or a doctor here, but how our siblings can be completely different than who we are, and I think it happens with all over the world for that matter. And that's so fascinating that one kid would incorporate something and the other kid would be completely different. So how do you explain that prakriti being so different, amongst siblings?
It's like the DNA and your fingerprints, right? So no two people are the same. And even if your sibling in you, like I'm just making, if you're pitta vata, right?
Yeah.
One could be pitta kapha, one could be pitta vata. That means pitta is predominant in one of the parents. Even if both of them were like pitta vata, the interesting part is pitta is made up of fire and water, and vata is made
Yeah.
up of air and space. So one sibling could have more air, the other could have more space. So that's how it becomes unique, right?
Yeah.
One, and then we have these gunas, 20 gunas in Ayurveda, like 10 opposing qualities. So one would be more impacted by cold if they have vata imbalance, one could be more impacted by speed. And I think
Mm-hmm.
so. One of my clients joked about this. She's like, "You should start this dating app based on Ayurveda because, if we." And I was like, "That's so true because it helps you understand people better. If someone is being slow and lethargic, it's a kapha imbalance. They are not trying to be lazy or to be mean to you. Sometimes people are, but for the most part, no. If someone is unfocused, it's a vata imbalance. They're not trying to annoy you. If someone is super fiery and like, I need this done yesterday, that's a pitta imbalance. So in balance, um, pittas are generally world leaders, very ambitious, very driven. Kaphas are great nurturers. Think of the banyan tree. They're strong, they're nurturing, right? Like great nurse practitioners. Vatas are the creative people, the writers, the photographers. But out of balance, none of us benefit. But in balance, all the doshas are great. So the idea again is here, we are born, this is a prakriti, our diet, our lifestyle, who we are with, where we live, the seasons takes us to our imbalance. And the idea is to just keep bringing back. And right now, because of everything that's going on with the world and the pandemic, most of us are in a vata imbalance state. And actually, in the Western world, 80% of the people are in a vata imbalance just because of the lifestyle and the food.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's a comment. This was very helpful. Thank you. I took a lot of notes. Well, you're welcome to watch this video again. You don't have to take notes. Look forward to attending more sessions. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you from Sweta. Any other
Yeah.
comments and feedback for questions?
Yeah, I just saw there was one from Sayantini as well, and from Kalpana. Thank you so much for queuing in on a Sunday afternoon or Monday early morning for those of you in Asia, and being a part of this. I think we've now more than ever we need wellness to also not burden a healthcare system. God forbid there's a crisis, we need to be there. But if we take better care of ourselves, it's better for the society at large, not just ourselves, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what they were saying. Like a COVID patient is taking like 5 times more, time, as well as in hospitals. They measure by the bed capacity, and if they admit a COVID patient, that takes them 5 times or 6 times more, and an average patient would come in. So it's
right.
really straining right? The entire healthcare system in the hospitals, because people are getting admitted in the hospitals with COVID, and they don't know how to cope up with it. Anyway,
Right.
back to our subject. Any other comments? Anything else? Okay. All right. So, well, you're welcome to. You are welcome to contact us. Care at Nourish Doc, and like I said, we are coming up with more programs, coaching. Not like a 1 hour session, but a regular coaching. We're coming up with that in January. So you're welcome to give us any suggestions. Okay, so this is a question again. What are some of the good books? I think someone had asked, and you just.
Yeah, I just replied. So Dr. Vasant Lad, his book, Self-Healing, it's a small book. Um, that's a great book to begin to start to understand what Ayurveda is.
Yeah, and there are a lot of, I think there's a lot of other information out there,
Right, right. Well,
online.
that book really simplifies information, so it's a great place to begin. It's about this big, and it's about, but the cover is burgundy. I believe it's called Self-Healing. But yeah, Dr. Vasant Lad, you can't miss that.
He's basically an authority on Ayurveda
Yeah, I've
in America.
studied with him, and been it's been an incredible experience just sharing the space with him.
So Vasant Lad, if you go and you can get his book, that I've written it here in
Right.
the thing. Yeah, and you can just find it. Any other comments or any other feedback? Okay, well, thank you so much for attending the session. And you like our sessions, please help us spread the word. Please help us share these sessions with your friends and family. It really would mean a lot to me and Sweta, both of us. Anything else? Last comment from you, Sweta, before I wrap up?
So I just want to firstly thank you, Meeta, and thank you to everyone who joined us today. It doesn't make it easier, but I think it helps to know that you're not overreacting, you're not alone. It is a very anxiety provoking time, but see if you can make these small adjustments, whether it's the oil massage or the pranayam or the foods that you eat. It just helps us, because our go-to thing is we are reactive by nature, just the world we live in, right? I'll just pop this pill, or I'll just pour that drink, or I'll just also pay attention. The one thing I would say on my parting words would be pay attention to you. How are you feeling? What do certain foods make you feel like? What do certain workouts make you feel like? What do certain people make you feel like? That also helps us, create healthy boundaries, which helps us lower our anxiety. So be well, everyone. And I'm so thank you to everyone. Thanks, Sushana. Thank you to so many of these lovely friends who turned up today. And be well, everyone. Stay healthy. Happy holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving, Dashera, Christmas, anything that you celebrate. And for those of us in the US, deep breathing on Tuesday.
Well, thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to end this session. I really want to thank all of you to supporting us. And we are bringing speakers from all over the world. So please help us spread the word. Thank you. Bye-bye.